Yeah, we back. Now, today's video is going to be a follow-up video to one I dropped a few weeks ago entitled, Black Woman Elected the Leader of the British Conservative Party. And if you've been watching my channel, then you know I've been doing this series called The Black Conservative Hustle. So yeah, it's going to be another episode of The Black Conservative Hustle. Now, the subject of today's video is a woman by the name of Kemi Badenoch, the new leader of the Conservatives. Now, I already did a deep analysis on this woman in my last video a few weeks ago, but now we're going to do a follow-up because now she is tackling the issue of immigration. Like I told you in my last video a few days ago. Immigration is a hot button topic in many Western nations, not just the United States. Now, of course, like I told you, when they talk about immigration, they're not talking about the white immigrants, right? They're not talking about the German immigrants. They're not talking about the Polish immigrants. They're not talking about the Irish immigrants. No, they're talking about the non-white immigrants. Because like I said in my previous video, the birth rate in many Western nations is below replacement. Their population is in slow decline. Their population is aging and getting older. And just 2 days ago, I did a video talking about the top 30 most fertile countries with the highest birth rates are all in the continent of Africa. So now you got a situation where the population in other places is skyrocketing, it's exploding. And the population in many Western nations is aging and declining. So that's why you hear all this talk about secure the border, and they're bringing all the white immigrants into the country and they're trying to stop the flow of the non-white immigrants because they're paying attention to the shifting demographics. Now, as it relates to conservatism, like I mentioned before, there's different types of conservatism. You got Western conservatism that's heavily influenced by Christianity and European Anglo-Saxon culture. That's pretty much the brand of conservatism that we talk about when we talk about nations like the United States and other European nations, France, Great Britain, things like that. That's going to be the brand of conservatism we're talking about. Of course, you have different types of conservatism in different nations, right? For example, Chinese conservatism is going to be influenced and heavily guided by Chinese culture. Same thing when you go to African nations, black nations. When we talk about conservatism, it's going to be heavily influenced by the nation that we are talking about. So when we're talking about the conservatism in Great Britain, obviously it's going to be heavily centered on European culture, European identity, European history, things like that. Same thing in the United States. So to be a black conservative in these nations, you have to be a foot soldier for these ideas. You have to be a foot soldier for these sentiments. Because if you're not, they're not going to accept you. They're definitely not going to make you the leader of the party. Damn sure not. Now, sometimes when I talk about black conservatism and I critique it in Western nations, in the Western context, some people accuse me of being a liberal, right? That's the knee-jerk reaction. Oh, you're a liberal. No, I'm not a liberal at all. I'm probably more conservative than you are. But like I said, I'm a certain archetype of conservatism that I'll go deeper in that later on in the video. But let's get into this footage. She's talking about immigration. I'm going to come back with my commentary. Let's go.
We need to talk about immigration. The truth is that for nearly 30 years, mass migration has been far, far too high under all governments, by all parties, and not just here, too high all across the Western world. And it can't continue. We need a new approach. I'm the new leader of the Conservative Party, and we're going to do things differently. I'm saying no more. The system is broken. We can't go on like this. And we need to change.
Now, first of all, shout out to her for that excellent piece of propaganda. Like I said, the black conservative hustle. But that was some excellent propaganda. And before I even jump into my commentary, we got to break that down. She said immigration has been far too high, and not just here, but all across the Western world, right? And then you've seen the camera switch to the United States, to France, to Italy, to Poland, right? You've seen white men dressed in suits. You've seen black men hopping off boats. I gotta admit, that was some excellent propaganda. They wasn't showing the Ukrainian refugees running for their lives from the Russian missiles. But anyways, that's the story for another day. Now, as you can see on her social media, she said, immigration has been too high. Under my leadership, the conservatives will be taking a new approach. Now, like I said, in order to be accepted into these conservative circles, especially be elevated to the rank of leadership, then you have to be a foot soldier, right? You have to be deputized to maintain the power of the white population. You have to do everything in your power to make sure the white man always holds the majority. And that's something you'll see in all of these anti-immigrant movements across the Western world, right? It's never targeted towards the white immigrants because the white immigrants are sneaking in through the back door to boost the population. Now, when it came to this topic, when they talk about demographics and immigration and things like that, usually you only heard this rhetoric from the white nationalists or the far-right conservatives. But now you see black faces taking on a role of leadership, right? Taking on the mantle to fight this battle. You got guys like Tariq Nasheed, and over in Europe, you got women like Kemi Badenoch. Now, I'll say Kemi is way more refined and way more intelligent and polished than Tariq, but at the end of the day, they're doing the same exact thing, maintaining the power and the dominance of the white majority. Now, I'll say this, it's really a shame. It's really a shame because, in my opinion, Kemi Badenoch, she's beautiful, in my opinion. That's some A1 genetics. And I'm a black man who believes in genetic optimization. And when it comes to her, she comes from a solid family. Mother and father were both professionals, highly accomplished, highly intelligent. Her father was a well-respected black man. And if she was the true conservative, then she would have got with a black man who was also her reflection, a black man from a solid family whose mother and father were also professionals and who also were highly accomplished, right? That's what I believe in, genetic optimization. The best black men should be with the best black women. Like I said, I'm a real black conservative, and I'll get deeper on that later on in the video. But yeah, due to the fact that she is not a real black conservative, a true conservative, she ended up marrying this goofball. Now, obviously, women take on the ideology of their husbands. Women are the reflection of their men. So obviously these ideologies that she's promoting is probably also the shared sentiments of her husband. Her husband probably feels the same exact way. Her husband is probably worried about the white birth rates. Her husband is probably talking about secure the border, keep the non-white immigrants out. Her husband is worried about the shifting demographics. I guarantee it, because he is also, from what I can tell, a white conservative. But it was so funny to witness when she put out this video. Many of the white conservative, the British conservatives, instead of rallying behind her and thanking her for being a solid foot soldier, a lot of them ended up telling her to go back to Nigeria. You're not foundational, you're not foundational white British. Man, anyway, let's take a look at some of the reactions on social media. This person said, a minimum of 5 generations should be a must before a person is allowed to take a seat in parliament. This person said, the Kemi approach. When foreign politicians try to make their name sound more friendly to the natives, a deeply subversive approach. Like Kemi is really Olukemi Olofunto. Now, this guy's basically saying that she is, trying to anglicize herself, right? And he also called her a foreigner, right? Even though she is a British citizen who was a leader of a political party in the country, he called her a foreigner because she's not a white woman, right? You're not a European, so you're not foundational to the country. You are still a foreigner in the eyes of the British white male conservative. Now, one thing I'll never understand is, where is her husband in all this, right? Your brothers are out here talking about it like a damn dog, and you ain't said a word. Anyway, let's continue. This lady said, Olukemi Olofunto Adegoke Badenoch is an African, not British. She needs to go home. This person said, racial foreigners should be legally banned from changing their name. This person said, when are you going back to Nigeria, by the way? And then he put the emoji, the white hand pointed towards the airplane. My goodness. Goddamn, man. Goddamn, man. Like I said before on many videos, to be a black conservative in Western society, it's really humiliating. It's really humiliating. That's why I can't get down with that. Even though I'm really a true black conservative in every sense of the word, I'm going to get deeper on that later. I could never get down with the Western brand of black conservatism because you have to be an uncompromising foot soldier on behalf of white interests. And then on top of that, they're going to humiliate you and talk about you like a damn dog in the public. I can't do no shit like that. Let's continue. This person said, all Africans, Arabs, and Asians should be deported from the UK. This person said, deport Olukemi Badenoch. So this dude didn't even spell her last name right. Her name is Kemi Badenoch. He said, deport Olukemi Badenoch. My goodness, man. My goodness. And it's sad because all she does is show love and respect to European culture, European society, European history. All she does is bow down and kiss the ring all day long, and they still kicking dirt in her face.
There are many things that the British Empire got wrong, but there are many amazing things that the British Empire also did. And we need to be honest about that and stop pretending that it was all bad. The British Empire ended slavery, the Atlantic slave trade. We need to talk about that more.
Now, you see, to be a black conservative, you got to help the white man maintain the population majority. You got to promote the white man's fake history. You got to say how the white man saved the world. You got to do all this nonsensical behavior to be accepted as a black conservative in Western society. And I refuse to do it, man. I refuse to do it, man. I'm not going to be a cheerleader for the white man, bro. I'm not going to polish the white man's shoes, bro. I'm not going to serve the white man food, bro. I'm not going to bring a drink for the white man when he done eating, bro. But this is what you got to do to be a black conservative, right? But anyways, like I said, I'm going to get deeper on that later on in the video. Let's continue. This person said, the one thing I know is this: you will not be the prime minister. You're going to pander and you're going to gather support. But when it matters, they will kick you out. I can actually place a bet today, and I am sure of it. This person said, why are you, an outsider, weeping louder than the bereaved? Are you not a child of immigrants? Why do you want to slam the doors in the face of others who, like your parents, want good opportunities for themselves and their family? Now, this brother coming with the logic, but like I said, in order to be a black conservative in Western society, you cannot ride for your people, right? You can't ride for your people. You got to ride for the white man, right? So if the white man said that we shitting on the black immigrants, we shitting on the non-white immigrants, you got to get in line. You got to get in line, bro. That's the reality. If not, you will be kicked out the party. Now, let's continue. This person said, if you're a minority in the UK, the only way you can have any political power is by absolutely despising minorities. This person said, her tap dancing is so funny. The people who she's representing are calling her a baboon and asking for her to be deported in the comments. This person said, the entire Tory party is led by non-whites going, please accept us. We hate immigrants too. And their white voter base going, no. This person said, the UK government is playing 3D chess and people haven't clocked it yet. They're using immigrants like Rishi Sunak and Kemi Badenoch to promote anti-immigration rhetoric, so you cannot accuse them of racism. Now, like I said, that's what you got to do in order to be accepted. You have to be a loyal foot soldier. You have to be a mouthpiece speaking in defense of white interests, right? We've seen it all the time with Candace Owens, right? Candace Owens used to be a very popular conservative black mouthpiece before she got fired for talking about the Jewish community. And Candace Owens was so good at what she did. She was such a good speaker that you even had black folks who actually supported her. She was actually a pioneer because before Candace Owens, you didn't really have black conservative voices that actually caught fire in the black community, but she actually had some black supporters because she was actually good at what she does as a mouthpiece. But when she talk about the Jews, they told her to get the fuck up out of here. But Candace Owens is no different than this woman right here, right? These are not true black conservatives. You know, a lot of folks talk, oh, Candace Owens, she was spitting facts. Oh, Candace Owens, she's a real one. Stop, man, stop. Like I said, later on in the video, I'm gonna talk about what is a real black conservative. I'm gonna give you a scenario where if I was the head of a nation and I put in policy that reflected the ideology of true black conservatism, what it would look like. Because the shit y'all be talking about, that is not black conservatism. That is white nationalism in blackface. Y'all a bunch of foot soldiers for white men. I don't respect none of that goofy shit. Let's continue. This person said, Trump won the election on the back of anti-immigrant rhetoric. This pretender is trying to toe that path. Now, like I said, this issue of shifting demographics in Western nations, the declining birth rates, this is a common issue in many Western nations. That's why she even said in the video, she said across the Western world. Then she showed you the United States, France, Italy, right? Because this is something that is taking place. This is a political thought process that is taking place across the Western world. Now let's continue. This person said, baby girl, you grew up in Lagos and migrated. The only way you got a British citizenship is because your mom took advantage of the UK birthright citizenship before they abolished it, because a lot of people like your family abused it. Rich of you to talk immigration like this. Yeah, man, like I said, got to be a foot soldier for the white man. Let's continue. Now, this brother said something that really resonated with me. He said this: it's wild to witness the hypocrisy in so many black conservatives. They oppose identity politics, yet use it to push white conservative values. They preach colorblindness and the idea of not seeing race, while their white counterparts do the exact opposite. That's what you got to do to be a loyal foot soldier, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to do goofy shit like that. And I responded to him and I said this: black conservatism does not exist in Western nations. It's just a bunch of cowards. Black conservatism only exists in black nations under black rulership. Now, I'm going to jump into that. Now we're going to talk about the difference between Western, Anglo-Saxon black conservatism and true sovereign, independent black conservatism. Now, let me give you a scenario to help you better understand. Let's say it's the year 2056 and I've just been declared the president of a random nation, right? A random black nation. And I ran on a platform of black conservatism. Now, on my channel, I never really went in deep about what is my political ideology. Am I right? Am I left? I'm going to give y'all a glimpse into my political ideology, right? This is what my nation would look like as a true black conservative, unlike y'all, booty clappers for the white man. This is what my platform would look like. Number one, every enterprise or corporation by a foreign investor would need to have ownership percentage by a native citizen. A local black man or a group of local black men would need to have a stake in any company established by foreign investors. That's number one. Number two, the economy would transition from one that is based on the exportation of raw materials into Western economies into one where the natural resources are nationalized and owned and processed and refined and exported as a finished product by the state. Number 3, there would be heavy taxes placed on imported goods to protect local industry, to protect the local economy, to protect the local entrepreneur, to protect the local street vendor. Number 4, mass deportations on all illegal immigrants, specifically the Lebanese, the Syrians, the Indians, the Westerners, the European descendants, anybody who's undocumented. And you're not even a black man. It's time to go. It's time to go. The police gonna be in the street pulling folks out their cars, pulling folks out of businesses. Listen, we rounded you up in the goddamn caravan. It's time to go. But at the same time, immigrants from African nations, black nations, right? You will get the red carpet treatment. Yes, you will get fast track access. You will be at the top of the list. Starting with the black professionals, the doctors, the engineers, the scientists, the teachers, the investors, the entrepreneurs, and then we go down to the laborers, starting at the top from the skilled professionals all the way down to the skilled laborers. And yes, if you are a black man or a black woman, you will get the red carpet treatment. You will be at the top of the list. And then from there, we can work our way down to the other nations of people, the other groups of people. Number 5, all the major banks inside the nation must be black owned and operated. We must have control over our financial institutions. Our banks cannot be controlled by foreigners. It can't be a random, Indian man who's controlling the bank. It can't be a random Lebanese man controlling the bank. No, it can't be a random, Syrian man controlling the bank. No. Next, multinational corporations would be heavily restricted from operating inside the country. And if they are allowed to operate, then they must be partnered up with a black owned company in order to conduct business inside the nation. A local company must have an ownership stake and must get a piece of all their revenue. Basically, if they want to get money inside the country, they need to sign a 360 deal. Now let's continue. Next, 0 foreign military bases. Foreign countries cannot establish a military base, a naval base, a military installation anywhere on the national territory. And if I'm a president, a head of state that comes to power, and my predecessor signed a deal that allowed for foreign military bases, then I'm going to put out a decree saying that it's time to go. We are terminating that agreement. Next, non-African descended men would not be allowed to marry the local women inside the country. They would not be allowed to marry the black women of the nation. See, this is true black conservatism, not that bullshit y'all be doing. Now, if a local woman wants to get with a foreign man, the only way that marriage will be recognized and those children will be regarded as citizens and those children will be seen as citizens is if that man is an African descended man. If that man is a man of African heritage, if that man is a black man, that's the only way. And many people don't know this, but that was actually a law on the books in Haiti for the first 100 years of the country's existence. The country was very conservative, right? If you're a white man, you were not allowed to own land until 1917. Only black men and black women were allowed to own land inside the country. And if a black woman was married to a foreigner, her children would not be seen as citizens. And sometimes she herself would be deported and denationalized. And that, my friends, is true black conservatism. Now let's continue. The offspring of a local woman and a foreign man would not be seen as a citizen. They would not have birthright citizenship, therefore rendering them unable to hold political office or usurp power in the local economy. See, in the hypothetical scenario where I was a head of state, we are not going to make the same mistakes of our ancestors who foolishly allowed the sons of our enemies to usurp political and economic power inside our countries and function as foot soldiers doing the bidding of their foreign fathers. We already did that. That's the reason why Haiti paid reparations to France. That's the exact reason why Haiti ended up agreeing to pay reparations to France, because the son of a white Frenchman somehow ended up weaseling his way into power in 1820, and then he ended up agreeing to pay reparations to France. He sold the whole country away to France, right? He sold the entire country away to his father's side of the family, gave up the whole damn treasury to his white fathers and his white cousins. So we're not doing that, right? If you are a foreigner, unless you are a black man, you are not allowed to marry a local woman. Your children will not be recognized as citizens unless you are a man of African descent. Now, let's say a woman has a child out of wedlock with a foreigner. Her mixed race children would not be allowed to hold political office, but they will be allowed to engage in commerce as foreign investors. But they would not be allowed to use the money made in business to influence local politics. They would not be allowed in the political arena under any circumstances. Only black men with black wives would be allowed to dominate politics, and incentives would be provided by the government for black couples to marry and have children. And within this hypothetical society, only black men with black families will be recognized as members of the local oligarchy, meaning that You can be an elite black man or a black businessman, but you will not be invited to our secret meetings. You will not be part of our elite clubs and our elite circles if you're not a black man with a black wife and a black family. It's levels to this, right? It's levels to this. Now, you can be seen as an elite, but you will not be part of the inner circle of power. We don't need you leaking information to your foreign wife so she can run back and share the information with her brothers and her uncles. No. Now, as it relates to the media, right? Any form of media, any form of literature, any form of online content that is deemed as undermining the principles of our sovereignty, of our culture, and our history, it will be banned or heavily censored. We must protect the minds of our people. And one of our biggest problems is the fact that our people do not have their mind right. They have so much false information, false indoctrination working against them and hindering their progress. So that's why you really got to take a hands-on approach when it comes to the media, the school curriculum, the literature. You cannot be hands-off with that. You got to be hands-on. And as it relates to the school curriculum, it will be heavily focused on entirely black history, black achievements, black contributions to civilization. We are not going to teach our children the Western narrative of history, right? Where the black man and the black woman was sitting around scratching their ass, and then the white man came with civilization, and the white man came with the Bible, and then here we are today. No, we're not going to destroy the minds of our children. No, we're not going to do that. We're going to talk about the great black men and women that came throughout history. We're going to talk about our great ancient civilizations. We're going to talk about our historical military battles against the Arabs, against the Europeans. We're going to talk about our great military leaders. But not only that, we're not going to just focus on the positive, but we are also going to focus on the negative aspect as well. What mistakes did we make throughout history? How did we get here today? And what can we do better to create a prosperous future? And also, we are going to teach our children how to debunk propaganda, right? So we're going to present to them the Western narrative of things, and then we're going to debunk it. So when they go out into the world, they're going to be able to see the propaganda and be able to decode and debunk the propaganda, right? So when the white man come and be like, listen, the white man abolished slavery, we freed the slaves, they're going to be like, stop it. You did not do that because you were benevolent and you loved the black man and women so much. No, you did not. You did that because it was no longer economically viable and you was getting massacred on them colonies, man. The black man was massacring your ass, chopping up man, woman, and children. So that's why you abolished the slave trade. It came at a time where it was in your economic interest. It was in your best interest to abolish the slave trade. Yes. So when we do teach the Western narrative, we are going to teach it in a way where the children are going to be able to debunk it, not to where they'll be indoctrinated under internalized self-hatred like we do today. Next, when it comes to military defense, I would say the military defense budget would account for about 20% of the national budget, right? As black men, we understand that these past few centuries have been very hostile towards the black man. Right? We have enemies who have openly declared the fact that they are our enemies. They have massacred our forefathers. They have disgraced our foremothers. So due to that fact, we have a historical necessity to protect our borders militarily from our everlasting hostile enemies. Now, if I came to power in a black nation in this hypothetical scenario, we must transform the economy. We must transform the nation to one that imports weapons, to one that is self-sufficient and is actually a weapons producer, right? Create your own weapons, your own aircrafts, your own drones, your own defense systems. So we are no longer left at the mercy of the Westerners or the Easterners. Next, I would focus on collaborating with militaries of other black nations, signing mutual defense agreements similar to a black version of NATO. That would be something that I would undertake. I would undertake the formation of a black version of NATO, where all the black states from the continent to the Caribbean, we are all under a military banner, right? So once one nation gets attacked, we all mobilize for war and descend upon the enemy with our tanks and our missiles and our drones and our submarines. And due to the fact that I would transition my country to one that is actually an arms producer, yes, I'll be selling weapons to my brothers. I would establish a defense industry and I'll be selling weapons. So yes, I would be helping my brothers get their military technology up. Now, finally, the death penalty will be reinstated, right? So if anybody is engaged in corruption like in China, death penalty. So yes, this will be my platform if I ran to become a head of state of a hypothetical black nation. That is black conservatism. That is black conservatism. And let me tell you, these ideologies, these ideas do not mesh well with the Western version of conservatism. It doesn't mesh well at all. As you can see, they stand in opposition to each other. Western conservatism and true black conservatism, they stand in opposition. For example, Western conservatives, they want to expand Western influence. They want to establish a military base inside your country, right? Whereas if you are a true black conservative, you would be opposed to the foreign military base. You want to abolish the military bases. You view them as an infringement on your national sovereignty. Whereas the Western conservatives, they want to project their power. So they want to have military bases all over the world. They want to project their hegemony. The Western conservatives, they want to be foreign investors. They want to establish multinational corporations, right? They want unrestricted access to the local markets and the natural resources, right? They want maximum profits. Whereas a true black conservative, you want to protect your local industries. You want to restrict the foreign investors. You want to abolish the multinational corporations, right? So that right there goes to show the Western white conservative and the true black conservative, we stand in opposition. We are not allies. Nigga, you are my enemy. And the same thing goes for the white liberal, because when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, it's all the same, whether it's conservative or whether it's Democrat. Now, let's continue at some of the reactions on social media. This person said, you as a black woman politically twerking for people that will send you away if they had the chance. Embarrassing. This person said, on behalf of every Nigerian, we reject her. She is not good enough to have our prestigious green passport. This person said, the daughter of immigrants going tough on immigrants to impress citizens who see her as an immigrant. This person said, anti-immigration talk in Western countries is white nationalism and white supremacy. Now, like I mentioned before, that's why I say when you hear these conversations, you never hear them talk about the Russian immigrants, the Czechoslovakian immigrants, the Irish immigrants, the Italian immigrants, the Polish immigrants, the Norwegian immigrants. So obviously it's not about immigration. Obviously it's about the shifting trends in the population, protecting the status as the white majority. That's what it's really about. That's why when you see people engaging in these conversations, if you're not about boosting and strengthening the black population, nigga, you ain't a black conservative, nigga. You just a backup dancer for the white man. Let's continue. It actually reminds me of an interaction that I seen. Tristan Tate, he said this is Andrew Tate's brother, I think. He said this: I'm sorry for American white nationalists who think that they can claim that America is a white country in the same way that European nations can. I know you want to, but you can't. If you want an ethno state, move back to Europe where your ancestors came from and become politicians here. Somebody responded to him and said this: America was built by white people for white people. The original Naturalization Act only allowed for white people to become citizens. And that pretty much verifies what I said. These guys, it's not about immigration, right? It's not about immigration. It's about protecting the power and dominance of the white majority. Now, let's continue. This person said, the West obsessed with immigration is not going to be a great place for African immigrants. This is simple common sense, nothing controversial. Somebody responded to him and said this: at the same time as the West is obsessed with this, their mouths drool with greed over Africa's resources. And in order to get those resources, they have to destabilize Africa, which creates more immigrants. Now, listen, that's something they're going to have to figure out. They're going to have to figure out that paradox, right? We don't want immigrants, but we don't want them to develop and become a competitor. So they're going to have to figure that shit out on their own. But in the meantime, as black men, we got to get our money up and we got to get our weapons up. That's it, and that's all. The world revolves on money and guns. That's it. You got to have a lot of money. You got to have a lot of guns. Anyways, man, it's your boy Never Card. That's a lane back in the Billy. Yes, indeed. Cash App in the description. Support the channel, man. Support the album. Peace.
No. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife. Yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's wrong. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I mean no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. I never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news. Back in my city they loving me. Standing alone I'm 100 deep. Enemy plotting and still in reach. They try to make sure that we underneath. Trying to make sure that we never make it. Coming for power, come get acquainted. Coming for everything that I wanted. Feeling like Drake, but I really wrote it. Feeling like Kendrick, I'm checking names. Gotta roll up while I go insane. Got so much stress, I been gained weight. Stuffing these racks in this Louis case. One thing for certain, I'm about to check. Keep it 100 and nothing less. Stick with the family since day one. Had to stay down till my day come. Had to stay down, but I'm never patient. Hop on the mic and I'm motivated. Hop on the mic and I drop a classic. Haters can't see me, they copping glasses. Back in the studio making magic. Got a new tape and it's in production. Back on my business, I got a budget. Staying low key when I'm out in public. Feel like I'm 75. Know that your team be full of them traders. You know that can never be mine. I'm grabbing a thought when I drive. I'm back in my zone and we on. She said that she ready to come be my wife. Yeah, hoping I don't do her wrong. I gave her my word and it's bond. I'm whipping the best like a lamb. I mean no chicken and lamb. Accustomed to call me the man. never be up on the gram. I'm keeping that way undercover. She want me to tell her I love her. I told her I'm breaking the rules. I told her we making the news.